My name is AlisonWoodall, and I have an online guide called Make the Move that shows you how to plan your move to a new state in the USA. So today we are talking about the 5 steps that you need to take to plan your move. And those 5 steps are: number 1, figuring out exactly what you want from life in your new state. Number 2, finding the perfect new hometown. Number 3, creating a detailed budget. Number 4, planning your move. And then number 5, making the move and beginning your amazing life in your new state. Now, I say they are 5 simple steps, and they are simple, but that does not mean that they are easy. Each step is going to involve a lot of thought and discussion and research, because moving is the most expensive, stressful, life-changing decision you'll ever make. So of course you're going to have moments of doubt or indecision, or maybe a little uncertainty. But if you tell yourself, oh my goodness, there's so much to do, I don't know where to start, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, you are going to go round and round in circles, stress yourself out, and you may never leave your current state. But if you tell yourself that moving is just a series of simple steps, it is going to allow you to stay calm and focused and take it one step at a time and figure out all of the issues that you need to plan for to make your move happen. And before you know it, you will have made that move to your new state and you will be living an amazing new life. As I go through each of the 5 steps, you are probably going to be thinking, I need to plan for that issue. Yep, I need to take care of that problem. Or I'll need to decide what I need to do in that situation. This is going to create a big long list of issues that you need to deal with. In my Make the Move guide, I have a template that you can use to log all of your issues. But it really doesn't matter how you keep track of all of those things that you need to deal with. The most important thing is that you create a list, which I call your master list of issues. Your master list could be saved on your phone, in a notebook, on a pad of paper, but each item on your list must have a due date that you're going to complete it by. Otherwise, you're just going to keep pushing off everything, and leave it to the last minute, especially those things that you don't feel like doing. So as I go through these 5 steps to planning your move, I want you to begin to create your own master list. And then afterwards, you can either download my Make the Move guide, where I go into an awful lot more detail on each step, or you can rewatch the video and go through in more detail yourself, and you can create that really detailed master list of issues you need to take care of. But there will be some things on your master list that you're going to need to break down into smaller tasks. Again, in my Make the Move guide, I have a planning sheet where you can break out all of the issues from line items on your master list into smaller tasks with their own due date. So for example, selling our home may be one item on your master list, but then you would have a separate planning sheet that details all of the lots of different tiny tasks that you need to do in order to be able to sell your home. So that's a little bit before we get started on how to list all of the things that you need to get done, plan for, make decisions about. So let's get started with step 1. Step 1 is figuring out exactly what you want from life in your new state. I think this is probably the hardest part about the moving process, because you feel like if you choose the wrong place, you're going to have to move again, which actually isn't that bad, because if you've never moved before, your first move is always the hardest. Once you've moved once, you're like, oh, I could do that again. It's still stressful, still exhausting, but it's so much easier to move again. But obviously, ideally, you want to find that perfect place that you're going to live happily ever after. And the way to find that perfect place is to get very, very clear on what you want. And I like to separate this process into 3 levels. The first level is your general wants. This is weather and landscape, the kind of social or political environments where you feel most comfortable. This is going to give you a region or maybe several states in the USA that could be a good fit for you. The second level is a little bit more detailed, and this is to figure out the wants that are specific to you. This is things like employment, schools or colleges if you have kids, healthcare, any hobbies that you have, or any recreational activities. This allows you to focus in on an area of a state and create a short list of towns that would meet your needs. And then the third level, level 3, is your lifestyle wants. This is how you want to spend your days, your evenings, your weekends, and maybe even your vacations. And level 3 is that level that most people forget to account for. It is so easy to get caught up in finding the perfect home that you forget to dream a little bit and plan for exactly what you want from your future life. I always say that moving is the perfect time to make your life better and to fix the things that you don't like about your current life. If you work too many hours, if you don't take good enough care of your health, if your kids spend too much time inside, how can you fix this when you move to a new state? Using the example of your kids spending too much time inside, if you want them to be outside and you want to spend time with them, moving to an urban area with very few parks and recreation spaces, maybe with extremely cold winters, may not be the best choice. But if you move to a more suburban or rural location with a more temperate climate, where your kids can be outside most of the time, most of the year, that may be a much better choice for the lifestyle that you want. So consider how you want to live your life in your new state, the changes that you want to make to your current life, and what kind of place will give you all of those things that you need. In module 1 of my Make the Move guide, I have a series of short videos and very detailed check sheets to help you get clear on everything that you want from life in your new state, so that you can create that detailed list of the things that you must have and also the things that you definitely don't want, because it makes it so much easier to know when you found the perfect state that suits all your needs, when you're very clear on what those needs are. So as you're looking at those 3 different levels, which is your general wants, the wants that are specific to you, and what I call your lifestyle wants, there are 6 categories of needs that you need to think about. Category number 1 is weather and landscape. Do you want, hot summers and mild winters, or would you prefer a mild summer and a pretty brutal winter? And so there are places where you can find a compromise, but in general you're picking between hot summers and cold winters. And what kind of landscape do you want? Do you want mountains? Do you want rivers? Do you want to be by the coast? All of those, think about all of those weather and landscape needs. Category number 2, which we kind of mentioned, social and political policies. These are things like COVID policies, pro-life, pro-choice states, school curriculums. Also, do you want to live in a diverse metropolitan area or maybe a more traditional rural community? And they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. You can live in a more rural location that is more diverse or more accepting. So the two aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. So that's social and political policies. Category number 3 is financial policies. This is things like income or property tax rates at a state or county level. And if you own your business, you maybe need to think about business incentives that a state or county offers. Category number 4 is employment opportunities. Are there certain states or areas or towns that you can work in, and maybe other places where you can't work? Category number 5, amenities. What kind of transportation needs do you have? Schools, colleges, hospitals, gyms, access to places where you can do the hobbies that you love or the recreation activities that you love. Things like restaurants and shops, all very important to think about. Even if you think you hate where you live and you can't wait to leave, I promise you there will be things that you miss about where you live now. So you also need to make sure that you've accounted for all the things that you love about your current home, your current community, and your current state in that list of wants and needs for where you're going to move to. I also encourage you to get anyone who'll be moving with you to work through this exercise too. If your partner or your kids are reluctant to move, talking about all of the things that they could have in their new state, all the things that would be different, may get them a little bit more open or maybe even a little bit excited about the thought of moving. And once you've gone through this exercise, you are going to have a big, long list of wants and needs, which will help you narrow down your choice of states or towns to create a short list of towns and cities that could be perfect for you. What I love to do at this stage when I'm kind of thinking about these, I think about all my wants and needs, and I take one of those big laminated maps of the USA, and then I take a dry erase marker and I circle any towns that could possibly fit my list of wants and needs. And I'm going to go into a lot more detail about how to get clear on what you want and what you need in a different live that I've linked to either below the video or above the video, depending on what device you're watching on, so that you can go into a lot more detail. And obviously, if you download my Make the Move guide, it's got everything that you need to get very, very clear on what you want and need from your new state, because that's going to allow you to create a big long list of towns and cities and communities that could be perfect for you. So now we need to move to step number 2, which is deciding which one of those towns is going to be your perfect new hometown. I think finding a town or community you love and one that feels like home is so much easier when you're very clear on what you want. And that's why step number 1 that we've just discussed is so important. When you have that long list of places that you think may fit your wants and needs, you can begin to narrow down your search. And these are some of my favorite websites, and I've got them all listed in my Make the Move guide. I love areavibes.com. That provides, it's a website that provides a livability score, and it also shows you some available real estate too. Bestplaces.net actually has a quiz to determine your best fit city and allows you to compare 2 cities that you like. Neighborhoodscout.com gives you detailed information on crime, schools, real estate, and so much more. And then niche, niche.com is great for schools and colleges and workplaces. And then the website that most people use for schools is greatschools.org for elementary, middle, and high school ratings. And then if you are looking for a job, monster.com or indeed.com are great sites for general job searches. I tend to find that Indeed is a slightly better option. I know a lot of HR managers use it, but Monster is, still available too, but I would go with Indeed. And then if you have a government job, there is a website called governmentjobs.com that has very specific job listings. I also think that YouTube is a great place to see videos of places that you could move to. Usually videos that are about a certain town or a certain city are posted by realtors, so their view of that town or city is going to be biased. But if that town has everything that you're looking for, a YouTube video will help you imagine if you could live there. When you are trying to find the perfect hometown, it's so easy to feel overwhelmed because this is such an important decision and there are so many choices available to you. Unless your time frame is very, very short, and I have moved in 8 days from deciding to move until we actually hit the road. So it can be done, but I don't advise it. So unless your time frame is very short, I want you just to take a deep breath and tell yourself that planning your move is just like planning a vacation. It's just the most expensive vacation you've ever been on, and it could last forever. What you want to do, what I suggest you do, is that you pick a couple of places to research every evening and really enjoy the process. Because if you think about planning a vacation, part of the fun of your vacation is planning where you're going to go. You imagine lying by the pool, relaxing, or exploring the area with your kids, and this allows you to get excited about your vacation. Well, moving is exactly the same. When you look at pictures of places on your short list, could you imagine driving to that grocery store in that town? Could you imagine eating at that restaurant? Could you imagine working out at one of the classes that that local gym provides? Are you excited for your kids to go to that big school that's filled with so many potential friends? Or do you feel much more comfortable looking at that smaller school that seems more welcoming? And if you're looking to retire to an area, are there plenty of activities to keep you busy? Doing a little research will take that big long list of places that you could move to down to a few places. And then once you have a short list, you need to plan a visit. I go into detail in my Make the Move guide about how to plan your route, the things that you need to consider when you visit, and what to do if you can't actually plan a visit, either because your time frame is too short or you just don't have the budget. I have moved 3 times to places that I have never visited before, and it worked out amazingly well each time. So it can be done. You just have to be very well prepared and do a lot of research and be very, very clear on what it is that you want from life in your new state. I don't know if you noticed, but I haven't talked yet about finding the perfect home. That is because you only need to start looking at homes when you've found the perfect town. You know what your budget is and you are ready to put in an offer or sign a rental contract. Again, I like to use that vacation analogy when it comes to finding the perfect home. When you go on vacation, you decide exactly what you want from your vacation. Restful beach time with your family, hiking with friends, or maybe a city break with your spouse. So you get clear on what you want, and then once you've found the city, town, or area that gives you everything that you want from your vacation, there will be several hotels that would suit your needs. There won't just be one hotel. And it's exactly the same with finding a home. When you find that perfect town that gives you everything that you want and need, there will be several homes that will suit your budget and also your needs. And you know what? If they're not quite perfect, that is what remodeling is for. So until you are ready to put in an offer or sign a rental lease, use real estate websites just as a guide to see the style of the homes that are available and the average price point in the towns that you like so that you can create a budget. Do not fall in love with a home that immediately sells and then fall in love with another home that immediately sells, because you will just get that sense of panic that you will never find somewhere to live. You have to get clear on what you want and then create that short list of towns using the websites that I just discussed so that you find that perfect town. And then I promise you, you will find the perfect home. So, takes me to step 3, which is creating your detailed budget. I think this is a slightly more stressful part. Even if you have an expensive home to sell, you still need to budget carefully. If you have an expensive home to sell, it makes it just a little bit easier because you have more options. But you can move on a very, very small budget. You just maybe need to choose a cheaper state to move to, or maybe a cheaper, more rural part of a state that you love, or a popular state. And then you may need to compromise slightly on either the size or the location of your home. And you also need to move all your stuff in the most cost-effective way possible. Creating your budget is way too much to cover now. I did a 45-minute live, a few months ago, which I've linked to in the notes section wherever you're watching this video. And it goes into a lot more detail all about how to create your budget. And also module 2 of my Make the Move guide has a detailed budgeting spreadsheet that allows you to calculate all of your costs. And it also allows you to calculate your cost of living difference in your new state. But what I will do now is quickly summarize the steps that you need to take when you are creating a detailed budget. Step number 1, you've got to deal with your credit score. Whether you are buying or renting, your credit score needs to be in the best shape possible, and your debt to income ratio should be low. Step 2 is to figure out how much money you can earn before you leave. In my Make the Move guide, I will show you how to maximize your income before you move so that you have a much bigger moving budget. Then step number 3 is to figure out how much your expenses will be before you leave your state. And again, in Make the Move, I will show you how to cut your costs as low as possible so that you can save as much of your income for your move. And then in step 4, you need to list all of your physical assets that you could sell or financial assets that you could liquidate if you need more money to cover your moving costs. If you own your own home, obviously that is going to be your biggest financial asset. And if you have an expensive home, you may be able to cover all of your moving costs using the proceeds from the sale of your home. But if you're renting, or if you're not going to make very much money from the sale of your home, you would be surprised how much money you can liquidate from either selling things or from financial assets. And I go into all of that in much more detail in my Make the Move guide. And then step number 5 is where you need to get really detailed as you identify all of the costs associated with your move. And I say all the costs because so many people just budget for the cost of buying and selling a home and moving all their stuff when they create a budget, if they even budget at all. But there are so many other costs that you need to plan for, especially if you are moving with children or elderly relatives. This is things like costs of insurance, the costs of traveling to your new state, cleaning and setting up your new home. And if you have ever had to restock a freezer or a pantry when you move, just that alone can cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And then if you have have kids, there's school things, to get your kids set up in school or with extracurricular costs. There's HOA fees, there's memberships, and so many other costs. And these costs are going to occur whether you budget for them or not. But if you don't plan for them, your move will seem way more expensive than you imagined. And you may even feel that your cost of living in your new state is much more expensive than you thought. But really all it is you just didn't budget for all of your incidental costs. Unexpected costs are one of the biggest stresses when you move, which is why I go into so much detail in module 2 of Make the Move, because I think it is so much better to be prepared and know upfront exactly how much your move will cost, even if it's more than you expected, because that way you can be prepared, or maybe push out your move date for a couple more months so that you can just save up a bit more money. And as we talk about being prepared, we get to step number 4, which is planning your move. Again, when people think about moving, they usually only think about buying or selling a home and packing up and moving their possessions. But you need to plan for so many other things. Your home and moving your stuff, including your vehicles, are the obvious things that you need to plan for. But you also need to plan for employment, healthcare issues, moving with school-aged or older children, or if you leave older children behind, you need to plan for their needs. If you have elderly relatives, you need to plan for their needs if they move with you or if they stay behind. If you have animals, you need to plan for their needs. And then you're going to have so many other things that are unique to your situation. Now, not all of these issues are going to apply. So in the notes, again, I've linked to a previous live that I did on how to plan your move. And also I've added a link to the guide to the Leaving California YouTube channel. I think we're getting close to 100 videos now with realtors telling you about their areas. And then I've done videos with insurance agents talking about all kinds of insurance that you need when you move, with moving companies, with people who've moved, giving their experience. It's just a great resource for you. And in the notes section, there is a link to that guide that has links to all of the videos. And then, of course, you can download my Make the Move guide, where I go into so much detail and give you all the information you need to plan for each of those issues. Because planning your move is probably the most time-consuming part of moving to a new state, but it's also the easiest, I think, because you just work step by step. And as long as you have all of the information that you need, then planning your move just becomes a series of decisions. So if I use selling your home as an example of how the planning process works, if you are selling a home, the first step that you need to do to plan for selling your home is to list everything you need to do to get your home ready to sell. Then you need to list all the steps you need to take to actually sell your home. And then you need to list all the steps that you need to take to find your new home, either to rent or to buy. This is going to give you a big, long list of tasks as you brainstorm exactly, how you sell. You get your home ready for selling, actually sell it, and then find a new home. So big, long list of tasks. I call it a master list. And then when you've got that big, long list of tasks associated with selling a home, step 2 is to work systematically through that list and prioritize all of the things that you need to do soon and add a due date when you're going to get each of those items completed by. And then step number 3, which is the most important step, is to schedule time every day to work through items on your list. There is no point in having an amazingly detailed list of all the issues that you need to take care of, but never making the time to deal with the items on your list. You're just going to keep pushing things off. The less you want to do it, the further out you're going to push things. And then suddenly, before you know it, everything is going to be smushed into, that time frame just before you leave, which is going to create that sense of panic and overwhelm. And so that's just an example of how you would plan for selling your home, but you would do that for literally every single list on your, on your master list: finding a job, finding health insurance, figuring out your kids' needs. And you're just going to keep repeating that list, those steps: making the list, prioritizing the list, adding a due date, making time to work through your list. The closer you move, the more time you're going to have to spend every day planning, deciding, booking, packing. And you may even need to schedule a whole weekend taking care of all of those items on your master list. It takes a lot of time to plan your move as well as running your regular life. So you've got to be super organized and just keep going even when you're exhausted, because I promise you it is going to be worthwhile when you are living an amazing life in a state that feels like home. And that takes us to step number 5. The final step when you have planned all of your move is to actually make that move to your new state and begin living that amazing life that you've thought about and dreamed about for so long. I personally think this is the best part of your move, and that is your actual journey to your new state. When you finally hit the road to move to your new state, you are going to be exhausted and emotionally drained. Even if you've moved many times, it never gets easier. You are still going to be tired. It's just a physically and emotionally exhausting process. It can be easier the better you plan, but you're still going to have that level of tiredness. And when you're tired and stressed or on a tight budget, the goal of getting to your new state as fast as possible is completely understandable. But planning and budgeting for a fun road trip or a dream vacation will allow you to recharge after the chaos and exhaustion of packing up, and it will allow you to create amazing memories and celebrate the start of your new life. If you're feeling emotional as you leave your current state, being able to look forward to an amazing vacation or a road trip will take your mind off the sadness of leaving family and friends behind. So whenever possible, I encourage you to extend out your move-in date or ask your employer if you could start a week or two later. Most employers are actually happy to oblige, particularly when you tell them why you want to start a couple of weeks later. For our last 3 moves, my husband pushed out his start date by several weeks, and we took 2 epic road trips across the USA for 2 of the moves. And then on the 3rd move, we actually took a month-long vacation in South Africa. So it is absolutely worth doing if your budget allows. Try and turn the drive to your new state into a fun road trip, visiting some of the amazing places in the USA en route. Or if you love beaches or resorts, book a week or 2 at your favorite vacation spot to celebrate the start of your new life. So that is it. 5 simple steps to planning your move. But like I said in the beginning, it's not easy. Moving is stressful and exhausting no matter how well you plan, and it takes a lot of time and effort. But when you're clear on what you want, it's easier to find the perfect place to move to. When you have a detailed budget, you won't have to deal with unexpected costs, which reduces your stress. And when you have a step-by-step plan and all the information you need, if you have a moment of doubt or if you're feeling uncertain about your decision, you simply look at your plan and you take the next step. And at all times, you must stay focused on why you're moving and how great your life will be when you've moved, because that's what keeps you going, the thought of that amazing new life in a state that you love. So if you want to plan your move by yourself, links to all of the videos that I've referenced are in the notes section, which is either above or below this video, depending on what device you're watching on. But if you found this video useful and you would like step-by-step guidance for planning your move, which is getting clear on what you want, finding the perfect hometown, creating your budget, planning your move, and then actually making the move, you can go to AlisonWoodall.com. Again, there's a link in the notes, and you can download my Make the Move guide, and I will take you step by step through this whole process.